This
Okay,
conference will now be recorded.
okay, we're now up and running. We're recording, and now I'm going to turn to the audience. So go ahead and just jump in. We can hear you. You can hear us. Chris.
Thank you, Holly. We'll call the Board of Civil Authority meeting to order. It's now 2:07, as close as I can get, on Thursday, July 25th. Holly, I need instructions on exiting the building in the event of an emergency.
Yep.
You folks at home can just log off.
Yeah. If there is an emergency, there are 2 exits at the back of the room. Closest way to get outside is if you use this exit door and then immediately exit to the parking lot.
And can everybody talk really loud?
And everybody will talk really loud as we can. And I am counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 souls in the room. I will make sure 10 souls get out of the room should there be an emergency.
Thank you. And welcome to 2 newly appointed JPs, Margaret Sunderland as a Republican appointee, and online, I assume Donna Kinville,
She is on
also a Republican appointee. Thank you for coming on board and welcome. We appreciate it. An item that isn't on the agenda, but I'm going to ask for changes to the agenda, or additions or deletions. And if I don't get any of those, I'm going to ask for the public to comment. We have 2 members of the public here. Pat Boucher is from Enosburg visiting, would be very interested in learning what more the Board of Civil Authority does. So she's joining us here to see one of our dryer exercises in setting up the things. And Ryan Doyle is here with I hope, a comment of interest. Yes? It's public comment time, so you have the floor, sir.
So, I'm Ryan Doyle. Hey guys, I've been in the PC before. I know it's the least exciting of any board you can be on, and so it takes the most motivation, in my opinion. Especially. So anyway, I spoke to the Secretary of State's office a couple of months ago for the city's appointment procedures. The state statutes are very clear about how appointments need to be made, and the city has not been following those state statutes for however long I've been paying attention to them. They're very clear that appointments need to be made in public. There must be cause given. And for the last few years, the city has voted an executive session.
Could you speak louder?
Yes, for the last few years, the city has decided an executive session and approved in the consent agenda, which avoids any discussion or justification for those actions. It can be really tricky in a city this size to have so many appointments that need to be made, especially if you're doing a third of them plus every June. But the Secretary of State's office made it clear that the first line of amelioration would be for the Board of Civil Authority to take a look at those statutes and review the way the city is proceeding with that and try to reconcile the city's procedure to the state statutes. And then if there's anything that was problematic that came out from previous things, to try to address those. And what that can do is really help support the council to have perhaps a clearer procedure of their own for how they go through these things, especially as they try to adapt to the high volume of applicants and interested persons, so that they can load balance that better without making a change that accidentally violates state statute again.
So if I can summarize this, it seems you have communicated with the Secretary of State's office. They've referred you to the Board of Civil Authority for concerns about, it sounds like, city council primarily appointments, or just school board as well?
City council.
City council appointments, where public, they need to be done in public, I think is what you said, and there needs to be cause given for the appointment.
Yes.
As opposed to, you're saying that at the moment it's being done in an executive session, and then at exiting executive session being approved on a consent agenda, which negates any discussion on the matter, right?
Right.
Okay. And
I can send you a write-up, including the statutes themselves, if that speeds up your work.
think it could. If you don't
Yeah.
mind sending it to Holly Reese, our city clerk, she'll forward
Perfect.
Perfect.
it
Thanks.
to me. And then you're saying the Secretary of State indicated that the BCA has the authority or should be reviewing the state statutes in line with what's being practiced right now. Is that correct?
It sounded like an always kind of thing. It sounded like a first step to helping get a policy set for the city council.
I see.
I wasn't entirely sure as to why, but that seemed to be their preferred course of action before anyone else gets involved.
Okay, and they didn't refer you to any state statute on that matter, but
Yeah.
that was just their guidance. Okay.
Yeah.
As a neutral broker, I assume.
I think that's how I would.
Okay. And can I ask a quick question? You mentioned you're a planning commissioner. Where have you been a planning commissioner here in town, or?
No, I was on the BCA and planning commission and city council in the city of St. Albans.
Oh,
Yeah.
St. Albans, excellent.
But I grew up in Eastford, so
Yes.
that's a long drive.
I've been on BCA for about 30 years.
Well, thank you. And are you a resident here now?
Yes.
This is great because Pat Boucher is down here from Pittsburgh to South Burlington. I just talked to the chair of the Democratic Lamoille County Committee who had moved from Jeffersonville to South Burlington, and you yourself apparently from St. Albans to South Burlington. So this is the reverse of what I heard 10 years ago, where I heard people were fleeing to Franklin County, and it's so nice to hear them returning and finding wealth in the society and community. Well, thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it. So if we can maybe put that on our agenda next time, and we'll, it may not be the next meeting, Ryan, but we'll certainly put it, keep your eye peeled. And you know where to keep your eye peeled too. Thank you. Any other public comment? Can you top that?
No. I've been on the BCA for about 30 years in justice and peace. I was village clerk and treasurer in Pittsburgh for about 15 years.
Aha.
Don't lose the number.
Long time.
Good.
And Ryan, would you still be interested in serving justice of the peace kind of? No.
I don't think so.
All right.
No, it's,
It's fun to do it.
It is. It is great. I'm going to kick it over to Holly for our next agenda item, the open meeting laws, the new open meeting laws, the hybrid meeting and recording of meetings.
Sure. First, apologies for the rescheduling. We hear that Martha has gotten a better clean bill of health from her pancreatic cancer, so that's really good news. So our director of taxing and assessing. So I think she's going to be slowly coming back, but we had to make that change for her. And also apologize that I neglected to put approval of our last meeting minutes. So when we meet next, we'll approve the last meeting minutes from 5-6 and then the meeting minutes from here as well. So jumping on to the new Act 133 S.55, just some new amendments about open meeting law and the things that pertain most to us. I did print some printouts, but I'll also email it to everybody. So first of all, that we are now included in the bodies that need to be recording their meetings and providing hybrid options. So we are doing that. And then lots of discussion around how are those going to get housed and what's the official copy of a meeting? Is it meeting minutes? Is this recording? So I'm working with Andy Broombaugh, who is our communications manager, specific for the BCA, and this would follow in any functions, that we do have to have a recording of the meeting. It can be either a digital recording, it can be just an audio recording, but we're going to keep using GoToMeetings and just use those recordings for 30 days after the approval of the last posted minutes. So let's say today I had been with it and we all approved the 5-6 minutes. So then the recording would need to stay up until 30 days after the approval, and then the recording can come down. So City Council, you'll know we're working on a new website and that functionality and kind of trying to tie those pieces together. So I think there's going to be a system in place where once something is posted, at least from the BCA, it will then come off automatically 30 days after the day it's posted. And so when I post that, I will coordinate that. And I'm not sure what's going to happen with other committees, the Planning Commission, City Council. Those are a little bit different than us in terms of how they've always been done. So the City Council meeting minutes or City Council meeting recordings are done through CCTV, and they're warehoused with them on a YouTube channel. So they don't come down. But we have gotten into a situation where it's, well, maybe the meeting minutes didn't capture a tone that the video is capturing or every detail that a video is capturing. So I think there's some room for discussion there. That's above and beyond what we need to be doing. So for our intents and purposes, again, we're going to be recording our meetings. Obviously, if it's a Board of Abatement meeting and, and we're in executive session, the executive session piece won't be recorded, but we'll press the pause button and then re-record. And then we don't have to keep them in perpetuity, but that 30 days. In addition, there's a whole new slew of trainings that needs to happen. Those are not an immediate, so I think those need to be started by December of 25, I think. There's a grace period. So we've got the legal team working on pulling those together. So you'll start to see kind of an annual training of open meeting laws that committees are going to have to be part of, at least these regulatory statutory committees. So it'll be City Council, it'll be the BCA, Planning Commission, and the DRB. And I think that's it for those, but it's just a little bit different process. So just wanted everyone to be aware. Questions about that? Okay.
Anyone online? Speak up.
Okay.
So
yep.
the
Hear me?
next item is the,
Oh, yep. Go ahead, Donna.
I guess my concern, it was something I would talk to the attorney, is that when we do the Board of Abatement, we deal with really some very specific financial data that I don't know the general public needs to know. So I don't know if there's a way to handle that without embarrassing the applicants in front of us.
Yeah, Donna, I think that's a good question. And maybe ahead of the actual hearing, we could spend some time, maybe we could have a meeting and have Colin or Jared come in and have that conversation, if that makes sense as a next step.
but I think it's going to be clarified between Colin and the Secretary of State.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
The law is pretty clear.
Yeah.
And, anybody can attend the meeting. So the difference is that it's now being more widely, conveniently available.
That's right.
For anybody to peek in, where before you had to dig a little.
Yeah.
So I'd certainly love to hear what Colin and the Secretary of State's office have to say on the matter. But that's a great point. Thank you, Donna.
And then just one more point to that as well. So we've had conversations with the attorney of is open meeting, is a hybrid meeting, a meeting. So if you're 100 miles away and you're joining in, is it any different than you being in the room? And the decision was no, it's really one is the same. And so we may see an uptick of other representation in abatements, like the current abatement is somebody, a firm in New Jersey that's representing somebody. And so they will be doing it remotely, so virtually, as opposed to coming and traveling here, which may or may not have been a deterrent in the past for people to request those, but I don't know. But the answer was yes, they can participate remotely. Anybody could participate remotely. That would be the same for any of us as part of the board. You could participate in the hearing remotely. And then I think we would just really have to figure out, I guess, we'd have somebody log off if it were an executive session that the appellant needed to not be part of. So we'll kind of pluck through those as they come, but
City Council often gets moved to go somewhere else.
yes. And then I don't know what happens if 2 city council leave the room and 3 are joining remotely in that other room. So we may get into some, yes, it'll get interesting, but we'll work through it as we need to. Okay.
We're on to the review of tax appeal hearing process and quorum requirements.
Yep. So, as you know, we tried to schedule both the tax appeal and then the abatement on the same day. I think we'll try to do that again. But just having a conversation around the quorum requirements. So they're much more minimal for the tax appeal hearing. It's 3. For the abatement, it's 11. And even the folks that are in the room, there are 10 of us, and 2 of us are members of the public. But we do have 3 people online. So I suppose we would be meeting a quorum for the tax appeal, just meeting today. But I will say it is oftentimes really tough to get people in the same space. So when or virtual space, which I think should become easier. But I just, wanted to let everybody know that those are the requirements. And so when we're thinking about dates and we're thinking about, I know one person is going to recuse themselves for the abatement, just kind of making sure that we have that understanding. They're different processes. They have different requirements for quorums. So I wanted to just review that. And then, Chris, if you want to take an opportunity to kind of, just do a little table setting on the difference between a tax appeal hearing and an abatement, I think that might be helpful for some new folks.
Okay, so the short and easy way
Yes.
to think of these things are that there is an entirely different board for abatements. An abatement of taxes is one where we just make your taxes go away. And of course, the tax burden then falls on all the residents that didn't get their taxes to go away. It adds to theirs proportionally. So in effect, an abatement is a request, and I look upon it as a favor that the individual is asking of the city. There is really no appeal to that request or favor beyond the process in which it happens. So if we fail to respond to them, or we fail to respond to them within 2 weeks, 30 days, or whatever the set things are, or we don't have the quorum for an abatement, which is 11, which is a high standard, 10 people can't make that decision because you're making a decision for all the taxpayers in the city to assume that burden on them. So we have a higher quorum for abatement, and that's a separate board title and a separate board hat for the justices of the peace. So the Board of Abatement meets maybe once every 2 years, the way we've been doing it. Most people don't come and ask for that favor or request that their taxes be abated. Oftentimes there are like 7 statutory reasons that you can grant this favor. You can't just do it on a whim. You have to have a certain number of things that I think Holly will detail for us what those, I think, 7 are.
I don't know off the top of my head, but you have the packet, and
the bottom line is this. Generally, as you've heard with Donna's concerns, people will come in and lay their financial life out in front of you and tell you why they cannot pay their taxes. And it is heartrending. And you generally, as a board, have always said no, because you have other options. Yes, I've lived in town for 50 years, 60 years, but you can sell your home and move to a different thing or rent or something. And so for that reason, it is really one of the most difficult situations. Or the easier ones would be the homeowner has a fire and therefore, or a flood or something, and there's no value to the home on April 1st when we sent out the bill. So it's pretty easy for us to say, well, you're right, there isn't anything there to be taxed anymore, or wasn't, and they were already taxed for it as of the grand list on April 1st, I think it was. So those are relatively easy for people in those situations where catastrophe has caused a complete obliteration of the value. It's a lot harder with the financial situations of people who are looking for a last resort, a Hail Mary from the Board of Abatement. So that's Board of Abatement. But again, we don't do that very often. The Board of Civil Authority does the tax appeals and tax appraisals, and everybody comes in and tries to negotiate their taxes with our tax assessor, Martha. And dear Martha, we hope is doing well with her pancreatic cancer, and caused us to cancel our meeting last Thursday. And here we are today. Thankfully, we're hearing she's doing better. But the Board of Civil Authority will happen maybe once a year, or as we did with the reappraisal process a year and a half, 2 years ago, where you just get a flurry of reappraisals. We usually sit, and we only need a quorum of 3 to assess your issue. They go to Martha, they have a problem with Martha, they can't come to an agreement with Martha, they come to us. My house is worth $100,000, and Martha's telling me it's worth $150,000. Yeah, so they'll come in with comparables. They'll show you the comparables like you're a real estate agent, and you should know that the price should be closer to 125. It's not that simple. We have to physically go and look at the property, and so we'll assign a 3-member team to go out and inspect the property, walk the perimeter, walk the inside of the property, come up with comments about the property, come back in deliberative session with the members of the board that are present. And again, doesn't need to be more than 3, but the authorities are usually the 3 that we've sent out, but they'll communicate with, maybe we'll have 9 people on the decision-making committee, and they'll decide it's 125,000, or it's what Martha said at 150, or God forbid, and the tax appellant needs to know this, we might say it's worth 175,000 more, because they opened up the Pandora's box and wanted an appeal. And it's based on the point in time now, not maybe 6 months ago when that tax assessment was made. So the appellant runs a risk, and that is an appellant, different from the requestor for the Board of Abatement. The appellant can then appeal your decision to 2 different avenues further north. They can go to the environmental, the state appraiser,
Yeah,
or they can go to the state Supreme Court.
that's right.
Okay, so we're not the final word on that, but in effect, we're one of the second to last words on it. Questions? Sheldon?
Holly, you know, at what point are tax deficiencies referred for sales?
So the taxing assessing department does that. January time frame is traditionally,
The city manager, correct?
yes.
And the city attorney, so we're not part of that.
We are not part of that process. Nope. The only part of that process we have is we record it and post it. But it's usually, January when we first see that. And then I think the tax sales are, February, March-ish, around there.
Any balance or if you don't know?
I don't know. Those are conversations that one would have with the taxing and assessing department. There are some payment plan options that are offered. So I think as best they can, they try to reconcile those things. And, and even when they get to the tax sale, there's still a grace period of
A year.
Yeah. So, but we don't have anything to do with that.
So we can discuss it at our BCA meeting, like when they're presenting their.
For an abatement.
That's the abatement.
Right. But this is a different process that Sheldon's talking about. Yep.
So do you have, do you want to go into anything more on the tax appeal? I think generally, from my understanding, and you can correct me on this, there's an open period in May and June with Martha in which the new tax bills go out. And if your assessment changes, that's when you can appeal your assessment.
That's right.
Correct?
That's right.
In other words, if mine didn't change this year, I don't have a right to appeal.
That's right.
Okay.
Nope, that's not right.
That's not right, Donna?
Nope. So what happens is Martha will send out a change of appraisal notice for those people whose value changed. And then once those go out, so many days to meet with her. But that is open to anybody's house value. So if I didn't get a change of value, I could still go in and protest or grieve my assessed value with Martha, and she'd have to look at it.
And that's done in a window of somewhere in May and June, and there's a public notice put in the papers, correct?
Yeah, I mean, Todd used to say I'm just over 2 days to actually have the hearings. I don't remember if Martha's that. I don't think Martha's that quite that strict. She'll have people kind of come in when they call.
All right, but there is a window in which they can file an appeal of your tax appraisal, and anybody in town can do it. The normal process is that people who got a
Yes.
notice of change of appraisal are often the only ones that do it. However, if I got refused last year, the Board of Civil Authority, I can file a new this year and go through the whole process again. Yes?
Correct.
All right.
Have you seen that, Donna?
Any
Uh,
regular?
well, honestly, we don't know on that point because we don't know who got change of values, assessed values. We just know who Martha saw. And if they didn't
Okay.
see Martha, they can't come to the board. So we don't see the front end of who got change of values and who were just citizens.
Where you don't see Chris Shaw showing up every year,
Right.
always asking
Exactly.
for an accommodation.
That's because you don't want to do them. If you're a Board of Civil Authority member and you appeal your own assessed value, you're exempt.
I get to
You cannot
recuse.
hear any other appeals. Nice try,
No,
Chris.
we should have not have let you speak on that, Donna. So, Chris is getting his paperwork together now for next year. Okay, so thank you both for that. Just wanted to have kind of that broad brush stroke of an understanding, and you do have the other documents. I'll refresh them again after we set a date ahead of the next one, but you'll have the packet that everybody already has about the Board of Abatement and the process, and just familiarize yourself with that. Actually, they're the two of them, but again, I can send a fresh one out. So I really would love to leave here with a date set. And now that we've done this kind of table setting meeting, it doesn't have to be in the next 30 days, but I just need to get notice to people. So I'm proposing September, and maybe since Thursdays around this time seem to have worked well, potentially September 12th. Let's say 2 o'clock. We do have half an hour for the abatement and half an hour for a tax appeal. So an hour. So plan on an hour. Does 2 to 3 work for everybody on Thursday, September 12th? So we would need 11 people definitely for half an hour of it. And then, okay. And then, Tim, I can't count you as part of the 11, though.
Which meeting is this?
This would be a combined meeting.
Why not?
Abatement to hear one appeal and the Board of Civil Authority, if any tax.
We have one.
We do have one. So
Yep.
you do have one of each, the Board of Abatement and the Property Tax Appraisal Board of Civil Authority.
So, Tim, for you, the abatement piece, you're recusing yourself from, yes?
Oh, from that one particular instance.
Yes. And we only
Yes.
have that one. Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Because the requestor bought an ice cream for your child?
Yeah.
I just want to be clear on that.
Family friend, I think. Okay. So shall we go with that for a date then? And I can send it out today to everybody just to get on everyone's calendars. That would be really helpful. So then that gets us down to 8, Chris.
So the review for procedures, well, we've set for both of them.
Yep.
Okay. Confirm the date for pre-election logic and accuracy testing. Holly has offered Monday, August 5th at 5 o'clock. Any objections to Monday, August 5th at 5 o'clock? Sheldon, is that?
August 5th, and for what?
I'm sorry, was that you speaking? I wasn't.
I think Cecile.
5 o'clock.
So this would be where we get all the tabulators out, we do all the tabulator testing, do the test deck of ballots, and we also approve the final schedule and election officials and kind of do that pre-election kickoff table setting meeting. It depends, an hour and a half usually. Hopefully we don't have any issues with the tabulators and they just go really quick, but
How many do you need for that?
we've got 5 tabulators plus the extra, so it would be great to have 2 people at each tabulator.
Right.
It would be great to have everybody, but you know, a dozen would be optimal.
Yeah, 10, 12 would be great. 20 would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Is it okay to have a baby?
Yeah, and I'll send them out once we get all the dates. I'll send them out so everybody has them now, and you know, and I'll get confirmation. But just for the majority, putting that date out, and then also that week, the first day or the day of pre-processing, Friday, August 9th, maybe a 9 to 11. And this is where, again, we have now the tabulators that are ready to roll, and we open the election and start by processing those early absentee ballots that have come in. And right now we're hovering around 700 that we have back. So, you know, just planning on an hour and a half, 2 hours to process those, to run those. And
What time?
9 to 11. Okay.
Friday,
What day is that?
Friday, August 9th. Sounds like we have some people that can come. You'll be there at 10, maybe. Lori?
You said 9 to 11?
Yep. We could do 10 to 12 if that's easier for people.
If I'm back in town, I can be here.
Okay.
I will put it in.
Does 10 to 12 work better?
No, if I'm here, I can do 9.
Anybody online, Donna?
That works as well, or you could just do 9 to 12 and start with whoever comes at 9 and just kind of work through.
Okay. And
Will there
you're
be,
available?
will there be,
Tim's available?
yeah, will there be Chobani yogurt served
What flavor, Tim?
blueberry
Blueberry. Okay.
with hot spice in it?
Spicy hot.
What do you mean spicy blueberry?
Hot spicy blueberry. It's a new Chobani flavor. You got to check it out,
It is
man.
not. It is
You,
not.
you can add your own hot honey.
Jalapeno blueberry. Mm.
Oh, Tim. Okay, great. So that gives me a framework. Perfect. And then also related to elections. So I just want to make sure that I have a clear sense. I know some people have been plugged in already, but if there's anybody that is absolutely unavailable on August 13th, because I know Lynn is traveling, is unavailable August 13th. Everybody else is available for random schedules, or some of us are available for 14 hours.
Is Chris Shaw going to be there or not?
Yes, this time I'll be there. You guys had too many re-votes for the school budget.
It's a miracle.
They want
It's called the guy that skips out on every election. Boom, boom. Where's Chris? Where's Chris?
I skip out on all the special elections.
It's like you go on
Nancy
vacation.
Elizabeth,
Every...
I'm out of town.
Yeah, Elizabeth, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so that's only 2 out of town. Okay, great. So I will have something into everybody's mailbox by Monday with just a tentative, just for the BCA. I'll do the others after, but I want to get everybody in the BCA logged in first.
That it?
That's it.
Okay, so I'm going to open it up to any members' items. We've had the public. Anybody on the board would like to bring up any items for future discussion? If not, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. Second. Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone opposed, speak up.
Go home.
All right. Thanks, everybody. I will look forward to getting out an email to you kind of with some attachments. I'll attach the Act 133. Again, I will attach the dates that we talked about. I will connect with Colin, the lawyer, to get that answer about videoing the sensitive information. And then, again, packets of information for you, just in case you haven't seen them for the abatements and appeal. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want you at everything you can come to, Sue. So that would be wonderful.